Hey, thank you for joining us today, and good morning and good afternoon to all of you. My name's Troy Grable, your host of Teamalytics Leadership Live series. Each month, our goal is to break down a leadership topic, have an expert in team and leadership coaching come and share their perspective and wisdom on that month's given topic. I'm really excited to have one of our senior coaches with us today, General Kevin Mangum, on the show. Kevin, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Troy. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Well, let me share a little bit about Kevin before we get started. He's a born leader, in my opinion, a graduate from West Point, a retired three-star general after serving our country for 35 years in the U.S. Army. And Kevin, thank you so much for protecting our freedoms. Um, Kevin retired, obviously, from the Army and began his civilian career at Lockheed Martin. He was the vice president of Army programs. But after almost 4 years with Lockheed, Kevin started to get that itch to leverage his leadership experience and skill set to really help develop future leaders. And for the past year and a half, we've been blessed to have Kevin on the Teamalytics team serving as Senior Vice President of Coaching and Team Solutions. In this role, Kevin's responsible for working with large enterprise organizations, their leadership, to help them build a culture of high-performing teams. So in our conversation today, that's what we're going to focus on. Kevin's going to help clarify what is a high-performing team, what attributes and behaviors are critical for teams to possess to be high-performing. Kevin will also share why it is essential to focus on developing high-performing teams and what outcomes leaders and organizations achieve when they invest in developing a culture of high performance. But before we do that, Kevin, I'd love for you to take a couple of minutes for sure. Share your background with us, your leadership experience, and then, how'd you learn about Teamalytics and what brought you here?
Thanks, Troy. I guess in short, in my military experience and career, I was really blessed to work for some of the great leaders of our generation, and they certainly had a huge impact on me. They were focused, they were demanding, they were humble, they were caring. They set high standards for each player on the team and the team itself to be the best the player could be and the individuals could be. And in the process of all of that, working with some of the best leaders, it was really working with the best organizations of their kind on the planet, truly high-performing teams, where I learned what right looked like and how high-performing teams really continue to be the best. And then I had the chance to lead some of those teams and learn through the somewhat trial and error in my own right on what it takes to sustain those high-performing teams operate at their best. And developing leaders and teams became through that 35 years of service, my passion and purpose. And that's what I really loved about the Army. That was a satisfaction of serving with and leading teams who were doing hard things, trying to be as good as they could be. And as a result, executing those really hard missions well and making our country proud. And as you mentioned, I did work in the aerospace, defense and aerospace industry for a few years and realized what I really missed about the Army, and that was helping leaders and teams be as good as they could be. So I was lucky to find Teamalytics, or somewhat Teamalytics found me. One of my Army buddies that I played rugby with at West Point and served with in the Army, Steve Dwyer, had been at Teamalytics for a while. He said, "Come on over. You'll love this, and you'll be great at it." Well, I do love it. Whether I'm great at it or not, somebody else to judge. But I'm just tickled that I have the opportunity to wake up every day excited about what I get to do as a member of this great team analytics team and helping leaders and teams be as good as they can be.
Cool. Well, I don't know. We're pretty darn lucky to have you on the team, Kevin, and thank you again for joining us. So let's jump into our topic. You've led special operation teams into combat. You are now coaching and leading teams to achieve high performance. Uh, so you have a really, in my opinion, a unique perspective on our topic today, the attributes and behaviors of high performing teams. But before we dive into what those attributes are, could you explain to our audience, our listeners, what is a high performing team, and then what are some of the risks if an organization isn't developing and focusing on trying to create a culture of high performance?
Well, the strict definition, Troy, of a high performing team is it's a group of goal focused individuals with specialized expertise and complementary skills who collaborate, innovate, and produce consistently superior results. That is the strict technical definition, but I think it leaves out so much. High performing teams really have a very high degree of trust in their cause, in their leaders, in their teammates. There's a clarity of focus, their reason for being, and then a relentless focus on what matters, their path to being the best and delivering what it is that matters to that organization. I mentioned trust, and trust is the bedrock of any successful team, certainly high performing teams. They trust each other and they trust every player on the team to do what's necessary to win. Not necessarily their job, but what role can they play in a complementary fashion to achieve the organization's goal? It's not about superstars on high performing teams. It's about playing together to be a champion. There'll certainly be superstars, but how do those superstars fit in the scheme to win and again to be a champion? It's about putting in the work, really doing the sets and reps to be as good as they can be. And again, it's about teammates doing what's necessary to win, not just doing their jobs. High performance teams are focused on being the best they can be. They attract, recruit, and develop the best. They allow those who don't meet their high standards to do something else, somewhere else. But with the high performers on their team, they practice, intentionally intent on getting better with each repetition, set, and challenge. High performing teams are obviously perform better than those that aren't high performers. And research shows that only about 20% or less of teams are really high performing teams.
Wow.
But those high performing teams are more profitable, they're more productive, they're more innovative, they've got a more engaged workforce, they have lower turnover and absenteeism, they're more collaborative, they're more innovative, and it's a lot more fun to work with a high performing team than one that isn't, because high performing teams win. And my experience with serving on and with a high performing team was at the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, an organization that was born out of the failed attempt to rescue hostages in Iran in 1980. The motto of the Night Stalkers is Night Stalkers don't quit. And the standard, the North Star, is time on target plus or minus 30 seconds anywhere in the world. Those two simple messages are the purpose, the guiding light of what the organization does and will do and will never do. So the unit never quit. Soldiers in the regiment would never quit in their efforts, team efforts to accomplish the mission. And in that organization, it's not about trying hard, it's about winning. And being on time in a highly synchronized operation matters for a number of reasons. But that plus or minus 30 seconds, it guided everything we did. When we trained, if we were 31 seconds late or 31 seconds early, we failed. 1 second made the difference. And we conducted what we called brutal after action reviews to determine what went wrong. 1 second was enough to declare failure, and there was no tolerance for not meeting the standards. So we knew what our North Star was. Everybody was oriented on that plus or minus 30 seconds and practicing, and giving each other feedback when we didn't achieve that goal, that standard. So organizations that don't have the North Star are not aligned on the direction they're going and don't hold each other accountable are certainly at risk for wandering, taking their eyes off target, to use a military term, and not staying true to their cause and building the strong team and trust that's necessary to really be a high performing team.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying, defining that for us, Kevin. One of the keys to being a great leader is the ability to build strong, healthy, cohesive, high producing teams. Kevin, you led them, you observed organizations that have invested in this transformation process of really creating that culture that embraces high performance and like you said, puts that accountability in place. What are some of the attributes in developing a high performing team? That you just can't hire them all, you've got them around you. So what are some of the things that you need to look for, or you need to grow in those teams to become high performing?
That really is the key. It's how the leader influences the team to be that high performing organization. When I was growing up in the Army, there was a popular phrase about giving your folks freedom to fail. My leaders never gave me freedom to fail. They gave me the freedom to succeed. And they did that by allowing me to practice with reps and sets, practice my craft to be as good as I could be, providing a clear standard on what right looked like, and providing feedback when I didn't meet that standard and how I could be better. They were firm. Thank goodness they were patient. And again, showing me what right looks like. And it was clear that it was about doing the work. It was those reps to master the craft, to master the task, to master the skill were critical. And in the process of doing that, I did have the opportunity to succeed, to not only meet the standard, but to exceed it. And in some cases, frankly, to redefine what that standard was. I've been around a lot of leaders who were more worried about how their organization looked, or even how they looked, than how the organization performed. In my experience being around high performing teams, good teams look good. Not all teams that look good are good. So appearances are brittle, substance matters. Focus on being good, and you're going to look darn good. So it's that focus on building the strongest team, that leaders who focus on building the strongest team they can really make the difference. And again, it's about defining the standard, enforcing the standard, focusing on and valuing what is important, repeating their message over and over, giving encouragement and feedback, being humble, focusing on the team instead of self, connecting with and getting the most out of their players. But as they do all that, as they instill trust, confidence, teamwork, and resilience, they have a light touch. They define the ends, provide the means, and allow others to define the ways, and provide course corrections when necessary. As the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu is famously quoted, a leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, "We did it ourselves." Leaders of high performing teams the ones that I've had the opportunity to serve with, for, and alongside did that. They were focused on their team and provided that light touch and some course corrections when it was necessary, but let the team run. I'm a big fan of John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach.
Oh, yeah.
His focus wasn't on winning, although the Bruins under his watch won 88 consecutive games, 7 national championships in a row, consecutive national championships, and 10 total. But he was focused on on his team being as good as they could be, mastering the basics, practicing over and over, critiquing performance, demanding excellence with each and every pass, rebound, shot, practice, effort. Winning was an outcome. Winning was an outcome. The team being as good as it could be, and relentless focus on that, the details, the work, and the execution really made a difference. So again, relating it to my experience, during the very first combat operation of the war in Afghanistan, 37 days after 9/11, the team I had the privilege to lead accomplished what no helicopter unit ever had. We conducted the longest air assault raid in history up to that point. We took off of a Navy ship in the Indian Ocean, flew 600 miles in Afghanistan to deliver the most elite commandos on the planet to a strategic target, plus or minus 30 seconds, of course. And then we brought them all home. We had confidence in our cause. We had confidence in our leaders, confidence in our teammates, confidence in our equipment, and confidence that our training was going to lead us to the outcome we all wanted to achieve, and that was striking back at the evildoers who attacked our homeland 37 days prior. So the sets and reps we put in, the work we put in, the standards that were in place, and execution and relentless focus from the most junior person in the formation to the most senior person in the formation provide us clarity about what mattered and what we needed to do and how we needed to do it. So, I know I just said a lot, but it really is about trust, clarity of purpose, standards, feedback, and mobilizing that ethos throughout the depth and breadth of the organization.
Well, thank you for that. That is a great understanding of what high performing teams can look like, and definitely the key attributes and behaviors in there. Could you help us understand, like in your experience as a coach here at Teamalytics, what does an organization kind of, if you will, look like, or maybe what are they experiencing before they start this transformation process towards high performance? What are they shooting for? What are some of those desired outcomes that they're looking for in that process? And then as you've witnessed them go through that, what have you seen, or how have you seen them really change or transform the company?
I think this is a key point, Troy. And in many organizations, the development is skills based. It's focused on making that player as good as they can be, instead of focusing on the team, focusing on behaviors, focusing on attitude, focusing on culture. You can train skill and you can coach behavior, but attitude, really, character matters. And it's really no accident now, I think, that major league sports teams are working very hard to measure the character, the behaviors of potential draftees, so they can bet their precious draft pick and their dollars on the right folks. And so, again, many organizations are focused on skills. And the other aspect of this is that in many organizations, individuals get promoted based on domain expertise. So you're a great salesperson, suddenly you find yourself, you're our sales manager.
Right.
You're a great finance person, soon you're leading a finance team. And those folks have the domain expertise, but they don't have the experience leading people and how their behaviors influence others. So I think the most influential development opportunity that an organization can provide is providing leaders an understanding about how their behavior as leaders influence and impacts the team and their teammates. And then what can they do about it to, as we say, tweak behaviors to be better. And I think that is going in to start work with a new client, as their awareness increases on their influence and how their behaviors are perceived, and they start tweaking those behaviors, it makes a huge difference. And with clients who really dig in and are intentional about being better as individuals and as a team, we see amazing progress. They're happier, they're more productive, they're more profitable. All those things that I talked about, that the attributes of high performing teams. I was with a client this week. I've been working with now for a year, and I was really impressed by the tremendous progress they're making. Again, they're more collaborative, they're more productive, they're happier. And it's because they're C-suite leaders. Once they gain the awareness of the leader and team behavioral constraints that they needed to work on, they did the work. They did the sets and reps, and it shows. It was almost done. Had these sessions in the same conference room now for a year, four sessions. It was almost like I was in a different room with a different group.
That's cool.
This week than I was in previous sessions with them. So they're doing the work. They're better. They're getting better. And I couldn't be prouder of the high performing team that they're becoming.
That's a great example. Thank you so much, and thank you again. That's my last serious question on high performing teams, but I have some rapid fire closing questions for you, Kevin. Real quick. What is your favorite leadership behavior to coach? Like you said, you were at a customer this week. What are some of those behaviors that you like to coach? Your favorite?
I think my favorite is self-control, because it's one of my personal focus areas. Kevin, I need to be better at responding instead of reacting to stimuli. Lower self-control people like me, we're often ready, shoot, aim. In combat pistol shooting, we say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. That's true for most leadership tasks and decisions.
Yeah.
Kevin needs to slow down. I need to listen and learn instead of judge and fix, and so do many others. So for folks like me, I need to listen up. High self-control folks, on the other hand, they may never take the shot. Their teams have to guess what they're thinking. So, and because teams need to feel their leaders, the high self-control people need to speak up. So that their team isn't guessing what they're thinking and can provide the feedback, the guidance, the thoughtful guidance that the team is looking for.
Awesome. All right, two more. Let's go to this one. Your favorite productivity hack for leaders?
I don't know that this is necessarily a hack, but I think it's something that is definitely necessary, and it's a quality, I guess, that really has an impact on a leader's success and scaling to the next level. And that's doing only what you can do and delegating the rest. Doing only what you can do and delegate the rest. Focus on the important, not the urgent, because you can delegate urgent too. those emails, the day-to-day stuff, hourly stuff, unless it's urgent and important, let somebody else do that. The other aspect of it, is the important part of it is do the important stuff, and that's doing the work, defining a path for your team, defining the culture, and then carrying it, deploying it, talking it, walking it, living it, and really driving it, driving what success and excellence looks like in your team.
Love that. Love that. All right, last one. Best leadership advice you've ever been given?
I think the best leadership guidance or advice I've ever gotten is, Kevin, remember it's not you. The focus is on we, our, us, instead of I, me, mine.
Mm.
Act that way, talk that way, walk that way. And when take responsibility if the team fails in a mission,
Mm-hmm.
and give the team credit when they accomplish the mission.
Yeah. Amen. That's great. Kevin, thank you again for joining us, and thank you all for jumping on and joining us this month for our Leadership Live coaching session. I'll have a QR code up. I'll leave it up for a couple of minutes after we go off air, for you to scan it. If you're interested in just seeing where your team is at, give yourself a team self-assessment, and you can take a look at the feedback that we give you. And if you'd like to dive in a little bit deeper with one of our coaches like Kevin or any of us, we'd love to sit down with you and just point out some areas where you might be able to perform at a higher level. Thank you again. We'll see you next month in our Leadership Live series. Thanks again, Kevin, for joining us.
Thanks, Troy. Loved it.
Bye-bye. Thank you.